This video is sponsored by Athletic Greens, and to be honest with you, this is one that I'm really excited to talk about. Athletic Greens was kind enough to send me a 30-day supply of AG1, which is an all-in-one nutritional drink that does a lot of really awesome things for your body, like supporting your immunity and improving your mood, focus, gut health, energy, and just a whole bunch more. And let me be honest with you, this was perfect for me because I'll admit, I have never had that healthy of a diet, so historically I've always struggled with energy levels and such. But speaking from my heart, after taking a minute to drink AG1 in the mornings for more than 20 days now, I sleep better, I think better, I have more energy to work and go to the gym every day, and I just feel better. And it complies with any lifestyle choices like keto or paleo or veganism, so I've even got a lot of my friends and family members trying it out too. Whether you're a homebody or an athlete, I cannot recommend drinking AG1 enough. They have a brand new longtime subscriber in me, and if you're curious about improving your health in pretty much every way, click my link in the description below to get a 1-year supply of immune boosting vitamin D3, K2, and 5 travel packs for free with your first purchase. We've only got one life each, so let's take care of it, yeah? And now on to the video. Tears of the Kingdom is just over 100 days away, and I'm sure you're excited because everyone's excited, and if someone says they're not excited, they're lying. They actually are excited. In our excitement, though, as I'm sure you've noticed, there have been no shortage of speculations and theories made about the upcoming Zelda game based off of the few things we've been shown about it. In this video, I'd like to add yet another theory to that list, but one that I think could shed some light on one of the most ambiguous and mysterious characters in all of Zelda lore, and that would be the goddess Hylia, whose existence was revealed to us when Skyward Sword released in 2011. And fun fact, I guess, this idea popped into my head while I was making my previous video explaining every Zelda in the franchise. So if you haven't seen that video yet, be sure to check it out after you're done here. Now keep in mind that just like any theory, this has in no way been confirmed by Nintendo or anyone affiliated with Nintendo, but for a lot of fans, myself included, this mysterious long-eared figure shown in the most recent Tears of the Kingdom trailer has a lot of reason to actually be Hylia herself. However, for the sake of not being redundant, I'm not going to go into too much detail as far as that particular theory is concerned. I will summarize it here, of course, and will also link to my 2-part theory that I did with Zeltic on the subject in the description below if you'd like a deeper look. But in a nutshell, the main thought process behind this theory is as follows. The symbolism of 7 tears is similar to Hylia and her 6 sages. The parallel imagery between this figure and Zelda herself seems to mimic the parallel between Hylia and Zelda, and the figure's assumed connection to all the weird green magic and therefore the figure's magic being able to repair the Master Sword, which is something I assume is happening since it's shown in the logo to be repaired and literally rebuilt from the green magic, which is different from simply upgrading the Master Sword in A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds, is something that you would assume only Hylia, the creator of the Master Sword, could do. There's also the fact that this figure has a closed third eye on its forehead, which, if it were to open, like the symbol on the back of Link's new shield, would look a whole lot like the Sheikah symbol, who are famously the people group known for being sworn to, you guessed it, Hylia and her descendants. And finally, the figure clearly has something to do with ancient structures existing in the sky on these sky islands, or Skyrule as I like to call it. And believe it or not, there are even more details that we could go into, but that's the shell of the nut. For this video though, I'd like to branch off of the idea that this is probably somehow Hylia the goddess. If you don't like that assumption, then you're probably not going to like the rest of this video. But anyway, the next theory that I'd like to make following up on this figure being Hylia is a simple one, but it has to do with the question of the figure's strange appearance. I mean, just look at it. It doesn't have very humanoid facial features. In fact, it looks like it kind of has a pointed animal nose. The biggest oddity, however, has got to be the ears, which are massive, and you'd think are therefore very telling about just what species this figure is supposed to be. The arms are also pretty long, all things considered. Like, if they were stretched out, they would drag on the ground. My point with all of this is that clearly this figure is not very human. In fact, I'd say it's obviously not. So the question is, what is it? And is it a new species of being that we've yet to see in the franchise, or is it something we've already seen? Of course, it could always be something new, but I actually think it could be a Minish. You heard me, a little Minish person from the sky. But before you assume this is just a load of garbage, hear me out. This is gonna make a weird sort of sense by the time I'm done. Since we were already talking about appearance, let's start there. Right off the bat, the large eyes, the pointed animalistic nose, the giant ears, and long arms match almost exactly. The Minish are always always shown wearing little caps, of course, but I'm sure if this were the goddess Hylia, there could be an exception made to the headwear, especially if it were to show off luscious locks of hair. And as a reminder, Breath of the Wild did not introduce a single new species to the world of Zelda. Think about it, from monsters to Hyruleans, every single species of living being in the game is from a previous game. And given that there were already proven plans to include the Minish in Breath of the Wild, it would make all too much sense to finally include them in Tears of the Kingdom. But let's put a pin on the appearance argument for now, which is shallow at best, and talk about how this could make sense from a deeper lore perspective. The weirdest things about the Minish that I've always found strange and kind of hard to explain would be 1, their connection to the Hylians who live on the surface of Hyrule, and 2, their gifts. Specifically, 1 evil sealing sword and 1 unlimited golden power known as the Light Force, or simply as the Force in Japanese. Also, I want to point out that according to an interview with Hidemaru Fujibayashi, who directed the Minish Cap, the Light Force is specifically not confirmed to be related to the Triforce at all, meaning its origin is more than likely from something or someone else. Anyway, everyone who knows the story of the Minish Cap knows that the Minish gave these gifts to Hylians long before the events of the game, but nobody asks why or how. How are the Minish even capable of making a golden power like this, and why would they gift it to the Hylians? Well, if Hylia was a member of the Minish, then that could answer these 2 questions. Let's hop over to the opening cutscene of Skyward Sword real quick and compare for some possible insights. According to the game, long ago, the dark forces of Demise and his demons assaulted the land and brought destruction and murder everywhere they went as they chased after the Triforce. The goddess, who we know as Hylia, defended the Triforce and the living Hyruleans from the dark forces. Remember, this is told to us as an ancient legend in Skyward Sword, which is already the most ancient game on the timeline, meaning it took place a long time before Skyward Sword, surrounded by events that are otherwise undocumented, and therefore wide open to speculation. Similarly, the opening cutscene of the Minish Cap, which is the game that takes place right after Skyward Sword, also states that a long time ago, when the world was on the verge of being swallowed by shadow, the Picori, aka the Minish, descended from the sky and gave mankind the 2 gifts. Now, these 2 stories don't sync up exactly, but they have a lot in common. Both are ancient legends of already ancient games. Both detail a world under siege of darkness, and both entail an intervention of light, or forces of the light. So here's my thought process. What if these 2 stories are actually one and the same? Stay with me, we're getting somewhere. Remember that specifically before the events of Skyward Sword, which includes before the era in the past that Demise is freed from as shown in game, way back when Hylia initially fought Demise, she had a chosen hero. What if Hylia's unknown chosen hero was the hero of men that the opening of the Minish Cap talks about? And furthermore, what if the golden light that was given to Hyrule was, in fact, Hylia herself? And this light that's shown above her head is specifically animated differently from the light that's supposed to depict the Triforce surrounded by particles, meaning this golden light above Hylia's head probably comes from Hylia herself, a golden power. Furthermore, and this is probably the biggest evidence for this connection of them all, the golden light, aka the Light Force, was placed inside the bloodline of Hyrule's princesses, where it remains, presumably, to this day. So now that we've talked about the possible connected lore between these 2 games, let me provide an explanation for what could have happened that ties these stories together. Notice that the first event that takes place in both stories is the assault of dark forces. So what if this really is what happened first? Demise and his demons emerged from a shadowy fissure within the earth to gain the Triforce. At this point, the Minish goddess Hylia, who was entrusted by the golden goddesses to protect the Triforce, descended to the surface, bringing with her her own sword called the Goddess Sword, a golden light which is her own power, and another sword called the Picori Blade for her chosen hero. This is also one of the only ways to explain the existence and similarities between the Picori Blade, which is an evil sealing blade, and the Master Sword, which is also an evil sealing blade. The 2 swords even look extremely similar to one another, as if they were crafted by the same people, albeit being used for slightly different purposes. She then sent the surviving humans into the sky, where she came from, by the power of her golden light for their own protection. Now, if this were to be the case, or anything close to the case, that's one thing. You're probably wondering what this has to do with the strange figure, presumably Minish Hylia, shown in the Tears of the Kingdom trailer. To answer that question, I think it has something to do with the fact that Zelda is going to potentially be killed in the game. Remember that Aonuma famously said that what's happening in this cave sequence in Tears of the Kingdom is going to be even darker than Majora's Mask? And Zelda has not been shown in the trailers since falling, so should a Zelda be killed for the first time in the franchise that we know of, what if Hylia's spirit manifests itself once again in her original Minish form? And what if finding a way to resurrect Zelda Zelda by working alongside the spirit of Hylia and collecting her 7 tears is the entire point of the game. Now, I will be the first to admit that this theory is far from foolproof. For instance, Hylia's image shown to us in Skyward Sword and in her statues in both Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild look nothing like the figure from Tears of the Kingdom. And while the Skyward Sword and Minish legends are similar, they do have different endings, where in Skyward Sword, Hylia saves the day by sealing demise away, and in the Minish cap, the hero of men saves the day by sealing the monsters away. That being said though, it is possible that Hylia's appearance changed pre-Skyward Sword due to her creating a new humanoid appearance, which would then be referred to as Hylian. And she wouldn't be the only Minish in the series to become bigger and humanoid looking, as that's also something that Vati famously does as well. And with how vague yet similar these two backstories are, and how they seem to fill one another's gaps, and how underused the Minish are in the franchise, and Hylia's and the Minish's shared obsession with the sky, and Breath of the Wild's tendency to bring back niche pieces of the Zelda universe, and the connections to Hylia and alarmingly Minish-like design of the figure in Tears of the Kingdom, this figure being both Hylia and a Picori has to somehow be possible. But I digress, because we're currently standing firmly in speculation station. What do you guys think? Is it possible that not only is this figure Hylia, but Hylia was a member of the Picori race? Or is this figure not Hylia, but is a Picori? Or is this all utter nonsense and this figure has nothing to do with Hylia or the Picori and is instead just a new, currently unknowable being? Let me know in the comments below. And hey, thank you so much for watching. It felt good to make a bona fide wild theory after doing a lot of lore breakdown recently, so if you enjoyed the watch, or at least my efforts into the making of it, please consider leaving a like. And make sure you're subscribed if you're not already to stick around for more gaming lore. Huge thanks as always to my bandit crew, of which I have the new names of Angs137Y and John B to thank, and welcome. You guys are all amazing and make the channel possible. That's all I've got for this one, so be sure to follow me on my socials, and I'll see you next time. This is Bandit, looking forward to Tears of the Kingdom, and signing out. Peace!